March 2003. The skies above Baghdad erupt in fire as the United States launches Operation Iraqi Freedom. The mission was simple, or so it seemed: remove Saddam Hussein and rebuild a nation. But in the shadows of war, a different kind of battle was brewing. One fought not with guns, but with fake documents, suitcases of cash, and corruption on a scale the world had never seen. Within weeks, a dictatorship collapses. The world watches, believing they are witnessing the dawn of a new Middle East. The American promise is bold: to rebuild Iraq into a peaceful democracy. Roads, schools, power grids, hospitals. And to do it fast. But in the shadows of war, where rules vanish and trust evaporates, a different conflict brews. One not fought with tanks or bullets, but with forged documents, fake officials, and unimaginable amounts of cash. It will become one of the most dangerous scams ever recorded, a fraud so vast that billions vanish, lives are lost, and an entire nation's hope is stolen. The fall of a regime. For decades, Saddam Hussein ruled Iraq with an iron fist. Government records were meticulously kept, ministries were centralized, corruption existed, but it was organized, controlled. When American forces stormed into Baghdad in April 2003, that system collapsed almost overnight. Ministries burned, files were destroyed, civil servants fled. Entire government offices became looted ruins. Suddenly, Iraq was a country without records, without leadership, and with billions of dollars about to flood in from America. A river of cash. Few people understand just how much cash poured into Iraq in 2003 and 2004. The Coalition Provisional Authority, known as the CPA, was the temporary U.S.-led government running Iraq. They had one priority: rebuild the nation as quickly as possible. So they flew in the money. Cargo planes stuffed with shrink-wrapped bricks of $100 bills landed at Baghdad International Airport. Soldiers and contractors unloaded pallets stacked high, sometimes tens of millions of dollars per flight. In total, nearly $12 billion arrived in cash alone. That's enough money to stack dollar bills over 8 times the height of Mount Everest. The cash was meant for salaries, contracts, fuel, rebuilding projects. But in a place where chaos reigned, cash became more dangerous than bombs. Chaos breeds opportunity. Iraqis called it the Wild West. In the confusion, anyone could claim to be anyone. New ministers appeared out of nowhere. Men with business cards printed overnight declared themselves government officials. The CPA, desperate to jumpstart the economy, started paying contractors with giant wads of cash. In some places, business was conducted literally out of cardboard boxes filled with money. Auditors later described some Reconstruction offices as cash couriers rather than proper government agencies. And as history has shown again and again, where there's chaos and no oversight, there will be fraud. The scam unfolds. So, how did the scam work? The playbook was elegant in its simplicity. Step 1. Impersonate someone powerful: a new Iraqi ministry official, a U.S. general, a high-level coalition advisor. Step 2. Offer lucrative contracts for huge projects, rebuilding power plants, roads, water systems, projects worth tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. Step 3. Demand a facilitation fee. Sometimes a few $1,000s, sometimes hundreds of thousands. Step 4. Vanish. These weren't small-time crooks. Many were sophisticated con men who understood bureaucracy. They forged documents that were perfect replicas of real contracts. They faked signatures of senior American officials. They created official seals, ministry letterheads, even fake email domains. Some scammers operated locally inside Iraq. Others ran operations from Dubai, Jordan, or Europe, targeting American and European companies eager to cash in on reconstruction deals. Contractors in the crosshairs. The scammers' biggest targets were foreign contractors. Hundreds of businessmen poured into Baghdad, hoping to land multi-million-dollar reconstruction deals. Many were small business owners, not giant corporations. They mortgaged homes, borrowed money, and sold everything they owned to raise facilitation fees. Some were invited to lavish dinners, driven around Baghdad in armed convoys, shown official documents. And when the money was wired, the deals disappeared. An American contractor once said, "I paid almost $300,000 to secure a contract to build a hospital. I even visited the ministry. The next week, the entire office was empty. People vanished. I lost everything." A dangerous game. The scam wasn't just about money, it was deadly. Some contractors who traveled to Iraq chasing these deals were kidnapped. Others were murdered. Criminal gangs realized foreigners carrying large sums of cash were easy targets. Even legitimate Iraqi officials were sometimes in on the kidnappings, feeding scammers with names of wealthy businessmen. A security expert once said in an interview that, "It was a perfect trap. You'd get invited to meet an official in a government building. Next thing you know, you're bundled into a car and held for ransom." Following the money. By 2004, U.S. officials began noticing something shocking. Billions were missing. Auditors discovered money vanished without documentation. One report showed $6 billion simply unaccounted for. Another pushed estimates to $12 billion. Entire pallets of $100 bills disappeared. In one case, $1.5 billion worth of cash went missing from just one vault in Baghdad. Investigators found cash stashed in military trailers, buried in sand, and smuggled out of the country. Corruption within. Not all scammers were outsiders. Some were American military and civilian personnel. One infamous figure was Lieutenant Colonel Bruce Hopfengardner, a U.S. Army officer convicted of stealing millions from Iraqi reconstruction funds. Hopfengardner and his associates created fake invoices, overcharged contracts, and pocketed the cash. In one stunning example, a single crew of fraudsters skimmed more than $10 million, some of which was blown on casinos in Las Vegas. It was corruption fueled by greed and by the chaos of war. A country left in ruin. Perhaps the most tragic part of this scam was what it stole from Iraq's people. Schools were left unfinished. Hospitals became empty shells. Water treatment plants sat idle. In cities like Fallujah and Basra, residents waited for clean water that never came. Electricity shortages plunged neighborhoods into darkness for years. The money meant to rebuild Iraq instead fueled resentment and radicalization. Insurgent groups exploited these failures, pointing to corruption as proof the West could not be trusted. The legacy. 20 years later, the wounds of the Iraq War remain, and so does the legacy of the most dangerous scam ever recorded. A fraud measured not just in billions of dollars, but in lost lives, lost trust, and a nation's stolen future. Many of the scammers were never caught. Some live today in luxury, their crimes hidden behind offshore accounts and false identities. But for millions of Iraqis, the cost remains visible in the darkness of homes without power, in children carrying buckets of water, and in a country that deserved a chance to heal. The Iraq Reconstruction Scam serves as a stark warning to the world that sometimes the most dangerous weapons in a war are not guns or bombs, but lies. Yet amid the scars, there is hope. A new generation of Iraqis continues to fight for a better future, one free of war, free of corruption, and free of scams.